happy anniversary. Funny, you don't look 40.
I love playing with all those people who are just really, really good. It's such a blast.
The St. Louis Symphony Youth Orchestra, next on Living St. Louis.
Funding for KETC local productions is provided in part through the generous support of the Arthur and Helen Baird Charitable Foundation. And this Emmy Award-winning program wouldn't be possible without your support. Thank you to the members of Channel 9. You make it possible.
Few experiences compare to the excitement of listening to music performed live. And when it comes from talented, budding musicians who have yet to reach their full potential, the thrill is even greater. A St. Louis performing arts institution has nurtured thousands of young people like that for 4 decades to the enrichment of our cultural landscape. That's reason to celebrate. For St. Louis Symphony Youth Orchestra music director Ward Stair and his young musicians, this is a milestone concert, the first concert of the orchestra's 40th anniversary season. Stair has led the orchestra since 2008.
I was in a really great youth orchestra in upstate New York when I was growing up, and it was a really formative experience for me musically. So when I found out that there was a chance to be music director of a youth orchestra, I was really excited because it's sort of a chance for me to give back and be on the other side of that experience. And since it was so important for me, I really get a kick out of being able to work with the kids, you know, as a conductor.
The orchestra averages 95 to 100 members. They range in age from 12 to 22. Some live in communities as far away as Jefferson City, Missouri and Springfield, Illinois. But they travel to St. Louis every weekend during the school year for Saturday rehearsals.
When they bring their A game, which they do every time we perform, they sound wonderful. They sound like a professional orchestra, in my opinion. I mean, they have a great sense of sound, they have a great dedication, they're very professional on stage when they perform, so it's very impressive.
16-year-old violinist and concertmaster Jacolia Wong is in her 5th season with the youth orchestra.
Being in youth orchestra is lots of fun. You realize how other instruments work, how the blending works between the instruments, and when everyone plays together, it just sounds really great.
As concertmaster, Jacolia is the highest-ranking player in the first violin section.
In a way, it's like the conductor's assistant. Of course, in the beginning of concerts, I stand up in tune and hope everyone's in tune. I try to lead the orchestra just in case people behind me, people around me, if they can't see the conductor or it's easier for them to see me, I'll try to move so they can see like where the beat is, where things are going. I try to keep track of bowings. Bowings are whether you play up or down when you play.
Jacolia is among 5 orchestra members we talked to about their lives, their music, and their future plans. They hail from both sides of the Mississippi River and attend public and private schools. Jacolia is a sophomore at Metro Academic and Classical High School in St. Louis.
Julian's the leader of the percussion section, right?
Sure.
Right? Now, percussion sections have a reputation.
Yeah, they do.
And the reputation is that the leader is generally what kind of a leader? Is he inspirational or authoritarian?
Inspirational.
In percussion, it's usually authoritarian. Why? Because all the percussionists with them are renegades. They're all rebelling.
This special session on leadership and teamwork among musicians was presented at Metro by the Equinox Chamber Players. Jacolia and fellow students got to observe the rehearsal process of the chamber group to learn how to more effectively communicate with each other in their own ensembles.
It's how to work with other people, like in a quartet or quintet. It's all the same sort of thing. You can also apply that at orchestra, you know. You don't want to be the person that's always telling people what to do, you know.
Up high. Wide vibrato.
One of the benefits of being in the youth orchestra is the relationship members develop with their professional counterparts in the St. Louis Symphony Orchestra.
So 4 on the G and then 3 on the A. 4. Yes.
Occasionally, Jacolia will get a lesson from symphony concertmaster David Halen in addition to her regular sessions with another symphony violinist. The advantages flow both ways.
My father was my teacher. I used to marvel at his commitment to young people, and he would spend 14-hour days at the university teaching and then go to concerts on the weekends, and it seemed like he never stopped working. And then even after he retired, he was always working with young people, and I realized watching him that it's what motivates us all. It's something that's a little bit like having children. It's the most important thing you do is not what you accomplish, it's what you leave behind and what other people do.
Comfortable. Oh, I could stay on this, and I love the sound. Oh, it sounds so good. Okay.
Jacolia intends to major in music in college. She hopes to make a living in an orchestra or other group as opposed to a career as a soloist.
Looking at someone like David Halen, concertmaster of the St. Louis Symphony, you know, he's concertmaster, he does chamber music, he still does his solos. He gets like a little bit of everything, you know, whereas when you're a soloist, you're mostly, you know, you're probably going to go somewhere. It's more similar to freelancing, and it's, you know, you're in your room by yourself practicing all day, and I don't know, I feel like having the variety of just working with different people is lots of fun.
This is the second season in the youth orchestra for double bassist Caleb Small, a senior at Chaminade College Preparatory School.
I started playing the cello in 4th grade because we had violin, viola, and cello at my elementary school. And so I played that for 2 years. But then I know I wanted to go to Chaminade, and they didn't have an orchestra. They had a band, and then you could play bass in the band. So I decided it'd be an easier switch. And I always kind of wanted to play the bass. So I just switched over to bass when I came here. So in 6th grade, I started playing bass.
Like many youth orchestra members, Caleb plays music at school. In addition to this band, Chaminade offers 10 music ensembles. Caleb also performs in a jazz group.
Jazz is one of the things I really didn't know a thing about when I first kind of came over to jazz rehearsal. I was telling somebody the other day, I don't remember why, but I remember my first jazz rehearsal actually in this room. There were like 3 bass players in it, so it was kind of just for fun. But I walked over here, I brought the bass over, and I had a bow with me and everything. I had some other music and stuff, and I didn't know a thing about jazz. I thought I was going to be playing with a bow like I always used to, and nothing else. And it completely caught me off guard, like what we were supposed to be doing. And especially then when I went to high school, it was such a hard transition switching into not using written music all the time, because improvisation and making your own bass lines has always been kind of difficult for me after that point. But you just kind of have to put yourself out there, and once you kind of make that step and makes that like a leap of faith, but that's cliche, but it's true. You kind of have to put yourself out there and you kind of get used to it, which is good.
Just kind of the operon? Yeah, what is it? Okay, so operon is the whole thing, but an operator is this tiny section of DNA right here that actually...
Many of Caleb's classes are advanced placement courses. And he doesn't seem to stress out over juggling academics and so-called extracurriculars. As to the former, Caleb has a rare distinction. When he took the SAT test, he did what only about 20 other high school students across the country accomplish each year: a perfect score.
I was really freaked out. I had to check the paper again. I actually woke up that morning and my mom had printed it off and put it on my bedside table, and so that was really quite strange to wake up to.
Science and technology will take center stage when Caleb heads off to college. But music will play a major role in his higher education. In fact, Caleb says his choice of college will be determined in part by the caliber of its music department. But he'll pursue a degree in chemical engineering.
Most of the young people are not going to become musicians. They will go on and do something else. But they have music as part of their life experience.
Former St. Louis Symphony Orchestra music director Leonard Slatkin was assistant conductor in 1970 when he founded the youth orchestra.
I'll bet that if we looked back at the history of the St. Louis Symphony Youth Orchestra, those who didn't go into music probably went into professions like teachers, doctors, lawyers. These are the kind of professions people move into.
This rare piano performance by Slatkin in November of 2010 was part of a benefit concert in Centene Auditorium for the Chamber Music Society of St. Louis. Here he played with St. Louis Symphony cellist Alvin McCall. During the same St. Louis visit, Slatkin rehearsed with the youth orchestra twice.
The few people who do become musicians will try to relive that experience of being a young person again through their whole lives. They will always relate to how it was. I always think about how it was when I was 16, 17 years old, and the impact it had on me even now at this point in my life.
Caleb Small appreciates the impact of the orchestra on his life.
I love playing with all those people who are just really, really good. It's such a blast.
I love playing because I love seeing smiles on people's faces.
Jasmine Scott of Freeburg, Illinois, was 5 years old when she picked up a violin for the first time. 7 years later, she auditioned for the youth orchestra and won a coveted seat. The Freeburg Community High School junior has been in the orchestra ever since.
Ward's there is a wonderful conductor. We are so happy to have him. He's just great to work with, and he has so much insight on things. And he can definitely get the orchestra to sound like, when he tries to explain things, he'll sing it for us, and we're like, oh, so that's what it's supposed to sound like.
Jasmine performed this concerto in a recital at the Community Music School in Webster Groves. Several youth orchestra members study music theory and play in ensembles at CMS. And because Freeburg High doesn't have an orchestra, Jasmine plays in the high school band.
We got it. Ba-da-da, ba-da-da, ba-da-da. Good. We're at 83, band. 83. John, you're the downbeat. Boom, bum, 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 bum. 83, 2, ready, rhythm.
Playing in the band meant taking up a second instrument. Jasmine chose the clarinet.
When I first started playing, absolutely no sound came out of it, and I was so frustrated the first 3 months because I couldn't play anything, and I was like, how am I so, how can I do this on violin, but I can't do anything on clarinet? First I started using violin fingerings, and I was like, no, that's not right. So it took a lot of practice.
As for her college plans,
I definitely want to go into music, for sure. I'm looking at a couple conservatories and then other just music schools.
At 6'1" and the essence of poise, it would be easy to mistake Grant Rue for a college undergraduate. But 2 months after this concert, Grant celebrated his 14th birthday. The concert itself marked the debut in the youth orchestra of the John Burroughs School 8th grader.
So many famous musicians have played there, like Yo-Yo Ma and everyone. It's just such an honor to play on the same stage that they have.
Grant is the only member of the Rue family in the youth orchestra, but not the only one who plays an instrument. Grant's 11-year-old sister Julia studies violin, and 16-year-old brother Brad is a pianist.
My cousins, all my older cousins, were playing the cello, and I just really liked the sound of the cello. I thought that would be awesome to play.
So at the age of 5, Grant started playing on a size-appropriate cello. His earliest audiences included his kindergarten classmates. Grant auditioned for the youth orchestra in 2010 at the suggestion of teachers he studied with at a summer music camp. Not long after joining, Grant won the annual concerto competition sponsored by the Young People's Symphonic Orchestra at the Community Music School. But for all he's accomplished as an instrumentalist, Grant is equally talented in a different field.
Tennis is a big part of my life, as well as cello is.
Grant has won tournaments against older and more experienced competitors. The balancing act is working for now, but Grant admits if he had to choose between his two loves today, music has the edge.
I think music is a great way to go because you make a bunch of new friends through orchestras and through chamber groups, and you meet a bunch of really nice people. So music's definitely a great option.
Originally, I was actually going to play the flute. I was pretty set on it, but my band director pulled up the French horn and he said, if you play piano, you might be good at this, and you can get a lot of scholarships for this. And my mom was like, playing the horn.
And it's all worked out pretty well for 17-year-old Shelby Nugent, whose very first instrument was piano. The Waterloo High School junior joined the youth orchestra in 2009.
My first year was probably the most exciting, and we had some really great repertoire. That year we played Tchaikovsky's Symphony No. 5, and I remember the principal horn that year was phenomenal. And I just remember listening to him and all, really just getting excited about, I can do that someday. And it's, and now I've seen how much I've grown, and just seeing, all the other people in the youth orchestra who've been in there since I've been in there, it just grow.
Everyone there is so dedicated to their instrument, and you have just a great conductor, great music to play, and you get to do it for 2.5 hours every Saturday. It's just a really great experience.
Another great experience for Shelby and fellow orchestra members was a benefit concert in New York City's historic Riverside Church. The performance in June of 2010 received a glowing review in the New York Times. As we mentioned earlier, Shelby became a horn player after studying piano. But there's one more instrument she uses for artistic expression, her voice. Shelby sings in Waterloo High School's choir. Here they're rehearsing for the choir's annual madrigal dinner, a Renaissance-style English feast complete with a royal court.
I'm not the best singer, and it's a good outlet. The madrigal dinner, it's a really neat opportunity, especially for this area, this town. It's pretty popular in Waterloo. A lot of people get their tickets in advance.
The New York Times review of the youth orchestra pointed out the strength of its brass section. Shelby says the horn players share a special bond. On stage at Powell Hall, it's palpable. was like old times when St. Louis Symphony Orchestra musicians rehearsed with former music director and youth orchestra founder Leonard Slatkin. They were preparing for a performance of compositions by Russian composers and the St. Louis debut of Russian pianist Olga Kern. The 2010-2011 Symphony Orchestra includes 6 musicians who are alumni of the Youth Orchestra. Bassoonist Felicia Folan became the first when she was hired in 1991.
I joined the Youth Orchestra in 1974. It really was, for a young student, a young adult, a nice introduction to what a professional environment would look like.
Folan, who's a longtime proponent of music programs in the public schools, works with the Youth Orchestra's woodwind section. She speaks fondly of the orchestra's first executive director, the late Edith Hoagland. Folan helps raise money for a scholarship in Hoagland's name. The funds pay summer music camp tuitions.
Being from a family with 4 kids, we didn't have too little, but we didn't have too much. And Edith would find a scholarship for me when I needed to go to maybe a more expensive summer camp. And I feel so grateful for that, as I'm sure my parents did, that although I have none of my own children, I'm thinking parents won't mind if I help them with their kids, raise some funds and help celebrate their talents and their gifts in the youth orchestra by supporting the Edith Hoagland Scholarship Fund myself.
A St. Louis native whose music education began here, Folan's career came full circle when the Youth Orchestra's founder made her a symphony orchestra member.
I always felt that maybe Leonard had an especially happy feeling that the person who is going to replace an outgoing symphony member was someone who a symphony member had nurtured so wonderfully to do the kind of work we're doing. It's special that it was here at home, and I've been very grateful to this community for providing me a wonderful life work that I love.
When we asked youth orchestra members to name their favorite composer from their November 2010 concert, 2 names emerged. One was American Aaron Copland. They performed Copland's Billy the Kid Suite, a work the orchestra played when it debuted in 1970. 40 years later, St. Louis Symphony music director David Robertson conducted the anniversary performance. But the overall favorite was another 20th century American composer, Samuel Barber. Known for work that is at the same time lyrical and complex, more than a few eyebrows were raised when Barber's Symphony No. 1, Opus 9, was on the program. But the orchestra rose to the challenge. No matter where life takes them, these young men and women will be connected by this special season and a love of music.
I would be a completely different person if I wasn't involved in music.
I mean, it'd probably be a lot more just like, oh, math, science. But now, I mean, you got a whole other thing.
I can't imagine a life without music.
And to be on the stage, it was just incredible.
Every Saturday since my freshman year I've been going, I will definitely miss it.
I always tell my friends or anyone who would ask, I say the only thing better than playing in a great orchestra is conducting one. So I'm happy with that decision.
Funding for Living St. Louis is made possible through the Mary Rankin Jordan and Eddie A. Jordan Charitable Foundation and through the generous support of the members of the 9 Network of Public Media.